Good evening, it's Thursday, April 17th, 2025 at 7:02 PM, and this is the Town of Wellington, Connecticut's Board of Finance regular meeting. The meeting is called to order. We do not need to seat an alternate. So we'll go to approval of the minutes, and we'll do number 3, which is April 9th, 2025.
Could I just ask, is our Zoom link correct? So one person trying to get in says your Zoom link for meeting forces an input password prompt, and the one listed for the meeting doesn't work.
I'm trying to log into it too, and but
Says the host has another meeting in progress. Is this the same problem we had last night at CIP?
it could be, Lisa, when you, well, you were able to click on Board of Finance meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, that was a different problem last night, because
okay,
it was a different account.
Right.
That they used,
okay,
so the meeting wasn't showing up in the list.
but no one's there.
I just pressed it, and I know that. And it's
Yeah, I think there are people who are coming.
I was having problems getting into the CFP last night, but the browser.
I'll try the link. Is there a simultaneous meeting upstairs by any chance? That is always a problem before.
I didn't see cars up
I
there,
don't know, maybe
Okay.
up there.
but I wasn't looking either.
I wasn't looking at it.
I was observing in person. I think I got any, but I do know I got some emails earlier today that said there were some people that wanted to come.
So, so the link is not different that we're using for the meeting?
It's different every week.
I thought it was the same every week.
No, it's different every week.
Oh, why'd you,
I have no idea.
cause she did it
Peter was gonna have her change it and have it every week, and she never followed through. Every week. After the,
it's more trouble for
It's
her.
kind of a problem.
well,
Like,
after the next meeting, it's the same for the rest of the year. But since, late January, it's been a different, like every single week, every meeting.
So the link that's posted online is not working with the passcode that's on the agenda. Let me try to get in another way.
That's what I have. Welcome.
Start.
Okay.
Somebody even say.
The message they're getting is, it says host is in another meeting.
yeah, telling me the password is incorrect.
The meeting's in progress. Oh, that's what it says. Oh, another person says, Zoom won't let me join the BOF meeting, says patent code expired.
For me, it's saying passcode incorrect. Please try again.
Okay,
I'm getting the host has another meeting in progress when I use the codes that are on the agenda.
This is what AI gets you now.
like her.
3,
Yeah, I know.
Lisa, can you tell what the like what the meeting that you're in, what it says?
I probably have to log out, come out of this one. That's the problem.
The live link is the
So we're getting
same.
two
We're the only participant from this one, so.
If you go into. Click on the meetings, one, yeah, that one. The only meeting is this one.
It's nothing until one of them.
That wasn't that hot, right? We need to spend most of that much on that.
No, you probably have some people who want to be present to speak.
Yeah,
There were a couple, yeah.
we do have a budget going through the process, so it's our regular meeting, so, yeah.
You wanted to cancel this.
Well, but I think,
So how does this work if we don't get this going?
I was rejected, Jeff, so.
I think if we can't get it going, I think we gotta cancel it, right? Ridiculous.
Yeah, the only meeting, unless the other meeting is the one on the other account, you know how there's the two accounts
Yeah.
that for the longest time.
There's .gov and .org.
Right,
Last
and
night
we were
down
always
here was
confused
.org.
about whether or not we're supposed to use one or the other,
Yeah.
unless that one is still signed in somewhere in the building.
Oh,
Into a
yeah.
Zoom account.
or maybe there is a Board of Finance meeting just randomly, maybe she used that account. I don't know.
What are you on, Lisa? Are you on .org or .gov? Do you know the Wellington CT?
I'm on
And I had the password for the,
.org. It was on .gov when we came in. I
something that I was
logged out.
writing.
Oh, you changed it to
I'm not.
.org? Okay, so you
Yeah,
had the
'cause
pass.
we weren't on the .org, we're not on .gov. I don't have a
Okay.
password for that one.
I thought everything's not going.
No, they have two accounts, they have a .org and they have a .gov.
And .gov is for the
The
town.
town and .org is the school
Is the
section.
school. And so there's two Zoom.
So we should be on the .gov one.
Right, but
We
she
should
lists
technically
our
be-
meeting on .org.
And we
And
were
the school
on
technology is all on that. It's,
We were on
we've used it for meetings. It's
.org
just-
last
yeah.
night,
Yeah, no problem. And
but,
we figured it out.
so we figured it out, but
Let me just see if Zoom's down again, because it went down yesterday.
Love to say dollars.
Nothing today.
Hey Jeff, turn off all the computers while you're up there.
Yeah, that'll make people happy.
Not working that thing.
instead of gives different error messages to people. You said that you opened up with the second browser.
Yeah, like when you first go into it, down on the bottom,
Oh,
because it wouldn't let me in, like I would hit.
Did you get in?
not.
The meeting last night.
Oh, okay.
Is the time card one up there, say it's been recording for 2 hours and 40 minutes?
Yes, but it's pointing down.
That, okay, that must be that's, okay, I don't know.
That would be.
That must be the allowable.
Right,
Yeah, see that.
for this.
No,
I try to get in.
Okay. So let's forget the agenda and why don't we just go into this discussion regarding the mill rate? That's the way.
that's the way, so. You know, when we were at the public hearing and people were saying what their, well, you know, when they put their own stuff in. That they were coming up with much higher percentages than 7.
Yes.
And I looked at mine and, yeah, mine was high too. And, then I started looking at a lot of different people's and realized, oh, they're all high. And in my mind, I thought somebody's gotta be lower than 7 in order for some people to be so much higher than 7. But, now I know why. And the reason why is because of, the motor vehicle, everything, the home values were making up 61% of the grand list before, and now they're making up 60, I'm not sure, I'm sure with you guys, 66%.
Zoom's not working, Peter.
Link's not working. Ralph just called me.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
not, you know,
It won't work.
no,
No, so we're not holding a meeting. We're just
Oh,
doing,
it's discussion.
it's informational.
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So because of that, the homeowners are shouldering a bigger burden than commercial and industrial land. Oh, land is higher percentage now too, but motor vehicles is less. So that went from being 12% of the whole grand list to now only 8%. But the commercial industrial went from 11% to 9%. And the personal property went from 9% to 7%. So, so basically, it's not like it's been, this is what I think is a very unique revow, because I've been through this a few times and Peter just left, but he always says it's the same. It's, you know,
perfect math.
if we didn't have any increase in spending at all, it should be the same. And or relative, close to the same. And it's way not the same, so.
I think it's based on whether or not you're
Hey,
above or below the average for your house type. So if you have a larger than a higher, and I'm not sure, I don't have the breakdown of those, but let's say, you know, real estate went up for residential 47%. So then you'd say, well, if you know, if your property value went up more than 47%, you'll have a tax increase. If your property went down less, you might, you know, it'll probably, with the distribution between the different, it might be less, right? So, and not everyone can be well, I guess everyone technically could be average, but then we wouldn't really need a reval. Just need a number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people are concerned. They said Board of Assessment Appeals last night, 15 cases last night, another 15 Monday. I think it's 20, it's only 14 Monday, but yeah, it's it's never seen that many.
The thing for me is, there's several things too. I mean, the thing for me is, like, what is that difference? If our spending is basically at 4.5 across all budgets, how do we jump? Why do we jump to 7% in the taxes to be raised? So actually, I think had a fuller list before, but, the things that I think feed into that are that there's, of course, kind of flat industrial and commercial revenue growth, but there's, I mean, business growth period, but it was the end of the Love Truck Stop Building permit fees. There's a net loss in the budget packet of 50,000 in lost interest rate income. Because last year we budgeted 150 and we made like 200, is that right? And then this year we're budgeting 100. So that shows us a 50,000 carryover loss, which I think is a little bit of a false factor, and as is using less fund balance this year, because it's not like there's a loss in fund balance. We show a negative 200,000, because last year we applied 900, this year we're applying 700. That should be a good thing, right? But in the calculation, it adds to the taxes to be raised, like we have to raise 200,000 more because we didn't use that extra 200,000 in this fund balance. So, so I think that's one of those things that, maybe should not be in the math of it. The only way I could get to the 7.5% that it is before there's a half percentage taken off at the bottom of the budget packet was if you use that original taxes to be raised from the current fiscal year, which is like 16 million. If you use that, and I think you said you used the 17 million, which is taxes, the projection of spending for this fiscal year, the one that we're budgeting for. So that's the only way I could get to 7.5 and then minus the last percentage point to get to 7, because it's just too big of a number to, I think, with all these factors. The other ones too are, well, of course, the new state formula leading to 8.5 million in grand list reduction in the town motor vehicle valuations. Christina mentioned that, but that's like about 200,000 in revenue. And then the new state law awarding 100% local real estate property tax abatement to fully disabled vets. That was just done in the last special session of the legislature. So that's new to us. And that took 19 houses fully off the tax revenue.
Is that what the,
I don't
That-
know, it's 19.
Oh, I'm sorry, nine.
no,
It was 9. So that kind of cancels out the 7 new builds, if you want to look at it that way, although we're not projecting taxes from them for the budget for fiscal year 26, are we? For the 7 new houses?
I'm gonna defer to Kara because I thought they were added to the grand lists.
Well, they have been, whatever state they're in, I know. One house, they started after October 1st, so they're not on. If they get a CO before, then they'll come on that way, but otherwise it'll be the next grand list. And I
Okay,
can't think of the others right now, but I don't believe there's many there might be 1 or 2 that I think are done. I have to go visit, but yeah.
because we're operating off the 24 grand list, yeah, that makes sense. And then, so the fund balance thing, and then there's also the full year impact of the volunteer firefighter property tax abatement, which is about a $20,000, whatever, debt, or on the wrong side of the column anyway, if you're trying to figure this out.
What's that?
Well, the state upgraded the full abatement amount for volunteer firefighters. And they did it back in 21, the firefighters, both fire departments came to us with a list of people who qualify. There's a whole lot of stuff they have to qualify on, and a statute update or an ordinance update about it. And so anyway, the full year impact is something like 32,000. Last year it was 13,000. So that's also.
And why don't they pay taxes then?
They get like they get up to, it depends on how many years of service they have to build up to. The maximum they can get is 2,000 on property taxes. And that used to be 1,000. So it was an update of the law 3 years after the law updated. And not everybody gets that. they start at, I don't know what their first, maybe it's 500 or something, but it depends on how many calls you answer, it's all calculated, how many meetings you go to, what services you provide in support of the operation of the fire departments, that kind of stuff, what, you know. So it's for volunteers, the volunteers, not for paid staff.
You have trouble, I don't know, log in?
Yeah, people saying can't log in.
Yeah.
And then lots of some school, the state school aid, there was about 70,000, some other state monies, I think that that are shown, not in detail, but so there's some stuff in the last column. I would argue that the 200,000 shouldn't count against us in any kind of overall increase, and neither should the 50,000 in lost, that's the other thing, in lost interest income, because you know, it's kind of a false negative, it's sort of like I don't know, I understand it as a year-over-year comparison, but it's not like we have to raise that money I don't think, because we're not gonna go back and we're not gonna go backwards, especially on the fund balance, because that's just something we use. And in fact, I think it would make us think of it differently if when we're talking about, let's release some of the pressure on the taxpayer and apply more fund balance. If the following year, if you go a little higher than usual the following year, you're gonna have to make up that however it differs from the preceding year. Like say if you had 600 one year and you go up to 800 or 700 the next year, you have to make up that difference.
Right.
The way the budget's laid out here, and that counts toward your overall increase.
Just 1 second. So, you know, we're not having a regular meeting tonight. We had a technical difficulty.
Okay, that's where I
So
was,
we're not on Zoom.
okay,
So we're just having,
We
it's
don't know what
information.
Okay.
We're discussing the mill rate.
that was gonna be my,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Okay.
So, and I think there are some other factors that I used to have in my head, but they kind of went away now. When I was drilling down. Did you, is there anything you would add, Kara, to any of that, or
Try to think for now.
Donna? Is that accurate?
Yes. Everything you said is accurate.
So what do you think about the fund balance question? Like that?
Oh, I think you should stabilize it and kind of, you know, keep it the same every year, so you don't have these spikes and have to make up for it. But, you know, do I think you could apply 200,000 more and make it 900,000? I would say probably not. Probably not.
Here's my question about that. I would say that too, generally speaking, but we have had tons of openings in all departments. Many of them at the top. We've had directors gone, we've operated for sometimes months without people in positions. We've had a lot of assistants go, we've had a lot of turnover. Tax collector, you know, the town clerk, all this, you know, I don't know exactly what fits over the year, you know, but definitely Parks and Rec director.
Yeah.
Library director, we had one co-director for most of the year. The other co-director left last July. So, you know what I mean? I'm just kind of thinking, so if you have more funds returned to the fund balance, is it a big risk to, you know, to not factor in that 200,000 this time? I mean, that's one thing. And it's not like that's gonna make all the difference, but it just feels like we're cutting to reach a sort of fictionally arrived at number in some ways. And that's why the spending's only 4.5, but the whole package is 7, is things like that, plus
Yes.
the other elements that just state laws changing and it's affected, you know.
If we fix all the variables that we can fix, all of the remaining variables, we can say these are all things that are completely outside of our control.
Things have a way of bouncing back. That's true.
That's what I mean, I'm kind of feeling like there's gonna be a
The
big
salaries,
influx.
on the salaries had a mandated increase on July 1st, 2021. So even with the turnover, the rec director is getting that new salary. Town clerk, even though she's new, she's getting that new salary.
Okay, right.
Good point.
Human services, so some of the assistants, maybe there's gonna be salary savings. I know in the finance office, there's going to be a need for additional salary in the budget because of a situation there with, paying two people unbudgeted. So, but
Okay,
usually things bounce back.
but Pete had the hardwired salary, you know, getting right with the world things that are in the budget, they're budgeted for, right? The 4 people in director spots that needed corrections in their salaries, that's budgeted, right?
Okay, so
Yeah,
The increase, the mandated increases were put into
right.
the new budget.
for January 1st. Correct, so they were budgeted for. So
Right.
there is not a turnover savings in those salaries.
And the new budget and the upcoming budget
Is fully
has the
budgeted for the
increase.
increase.
Yes.
Yes, on top of the mandate, so. All right, now I'm gonna go back and check, I'm just gonna go back and check before I say for sure that that was budgeted, because that kind of came, mid-year.
And we should check the transfer outs too, because like I know that they're having trouble hiring up to their usual staffing level at Willington one for the ambulance. And my understanding is they're having trouble getting the regular 2 people on staff at the same time, which means they probably can't answer all the calls unless they have a volunteer who helps them out. And it's for the same reason, the same thing we do at townwide, in town hall and everywhere else. We're a small town, we train people, they get better and they get hired away by other towns for better money. I mean, that just has happened a lot. I think it's not every case, but a lot of the cases are like that. And in fact, especially if there's professional training involved, they get all trained up and then, hey, they're marketable, they're all trained up. So, you know, I think that's the case with at least one of the firefighter EMTs. Was hired at another town, so. That's one of the openings anyway.
So,
Is there anything else?
No, I just not sure. I don't know how to explain to people or even communicate to people that the how this all works.
Equivalent.
Cause,
Based on-
7% is just, it's not the case.
it is not the case, I've proved it too, it's not.
It's not, and so. But we have said 7%, so. Yeah, that's the average, but that's not what the impact of the homeowner is. And I feel like if I had known that, a few weeks ago, I would have made different choices. And so I'm feeling, I'm just in a bad spot about this whole thing. But that said, if this budget fails, which is my guess it will,
That's my guess too.
yeah, we don't have, even if we cut $1 million in spending and we had a reduction, we are still gonna have a tax increase because of this whole thing. So it's very serious, and I don't think that any of us actually understand that, because I spent a lot of time the last couple of days trying to really understand all the things going on here, and there's not a lot we can fix or do anything about, so.
And that's about what I calculated the cut would be to bring it down to even, I think, 4.5.
And 4.5,
It's like
as
a million
if
too.
we get down to 4.5, that's still not 4.5 to the homeowner, that's gonna be 8 or 9% to the homeowner. So,
So just, I've only looked at 250 homes. I plan on by the end of tonight, looking at 400. But the median so far increase that we're seeing, and the reason I say median and not average, because the average can be skewed from big numbers, small numbers and such like that. But the median right now that homeowners are looking at a 13.44 increase to their home taxes. Percent median, yep. And I'll have that updated more by the end of tonight. Plan on doing it.
It's also, I mean, they're different, I think, than past. Or more, you know, in the past couple of decades. You have now seen the shift not onto commercial, right, because that's usually what's supposed to happen, right, during the rebound. But it's on to the more affordable homes, the people that were paying sort of the least, if you will. And that's a policy problem. I don't know. There are, I think, and I don't know that much about this, so I don't want to talk like I do, but I think you can, I mean, there are ways to address this. You can have different mill rates for motor vehicles and real estate, right? And there's phase-ins, there's, you know, I mean, none of them are optimal things, but there are ways to address it.
Are you saying so that shortfall, because it's like, you know, whatever, almost 9 million in valuation on cars that's going away from our grand list? You're saying we could, for cars, have a different mill rate that would recoup some of that revenue?
Oh, I don't.
Is it that the states?
I don't
kinda
know if you
changing
can,
the
I don't know,
formula?
it can be higher than 32.46, but I don't know if it can be.
Higher than the real estate.
Than the real estate, I don't, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that would be a.
The state gives you the option, you can have a 0 mill rate for
for cars,
cars.
I mean, because people are like sharing some of their anecdotal stuff. I mean, my real estate taxes are up 16%. But when I take the advantage from the new way of valuing cars, which is a decrease in our household, it basically takes half of the dollar amount of the real estate increase off. So it makes that increase significantly less if you look at the whole tax picture together, which we've never really encouraged voters to do or trained them to do in looking at their whole tax step. It is an offset, I think, for most people or pretty much everybody. It would show.
That's something like me, when it's like 20-something-year-old cars, dollar tax on.
Our newest car is in
It's,
2019,
yeah.
but we definitely, we definitely have old cars too.
If I just say, if I go
Yeah.
14%, it's $1,000 tax increase on the house.
yeah, mine's 1,200, so yours is probably the same.
So it's, yeah, so I get 50% higher when it got reval, but
Mhm.
shouldn't have put new windows in it, I guess.
My values in step with the 47%. So it's, but I'm just saying, if you apply that, which you have to get your vehicle values to do that, but your new vehicle values, but there is a savings there. So it's sort of, at least some offset there.
So Ralph, the regular meeting was canceled because of a problem with Zoom. So we're just having a discussion on the mill rate, the reval.
Understand. And
Bill,
I'm
this,
extremely disappointed in this town and staff for screwing up another Zoom meeting. The passcode on the agenda doesn't work with the link provided. The meeting ID on the agenda with the passcode tells me that the host is in another meeting.
yeah, we got texts about the exact, we knew
So
that happened, but we didn't know how to fix it.
I'm not blaming this.
I know
this
you're
board,
not, I heard
but this
that.
situation cannot continue.
I know.
Because this is not the first meeting that's been screwed up because somebody didn't do what they should have done. And this is an important meeting from my perspective, looking at the budget. And the shortfall that you're gonna see. And the referendum that's likely to go down in flames.
Yes.
No, I'm late coming to the party, but what happened to tax neutral reevaluation?
We were,
That's what we're
we
talking
were
about.
explaining, we were explaining a lot of factors that fed into that, that didn't, that changed that. Long held belief that if you had no spending, you'd have a reval, it would reset your mill rate and it would be pretty flat it would be flat, right? If you had no spending. And that's why we were wondering if your spending is only going up overall 4.5 or 4.6, why is the whole tax package a burden to the taxpayer 7%? We're trying to understand that better.
And the weighted, like the amount that a person is paying, of the total is higher for the residential now, right? Than it
Right.
was, yeah.
So more of the burden shifting onto the homeowner. I think that's what Christina's point was.
Yeah.
And that's what
I
I'm
wish
seeing
I could
too.
share I have a nice chart to share, but I can't. Cause I can't get on Zoom.
Oh, right.
Well, isn't this when the mill rates went through the ceiling in like cities and stuff, is the industries and everything left, like places like Bridgeport where I grew up? Then you have a lot of renters and things like that, so they got taken out on your, residential property, you have mill rates down there that are like 68 or higher. And you take a house that at the time was worth maybe 150 grand, paying an $8,000-9,000 tax bill on it.
And I think in our case, it's not that the businesses that have left, but the ones we have a lower value than they used to. And some of that is because they've taken us to court to get lower rates. And, I don't know the details on that, but.
I'd like to speak to one particular aspect of the budget and what Carol put together. The top 10 taxpayers in 3 categories: real estate, personal property, and motor vehicle. When you look at the top 10, total revenue previous as compared to total revenue that you will get based on the current proposed mill rate, you have an increase in revenue in those 3 categories for those top 10 of only 2%, 2.3%. That's your increase in revenue over last year. So where is the rest of it coming from?
All of us.
All of us.
We still have the offset for crack foundations where people aren't.
Some of those are coming off now.
A lot of them have come off,
We
yeah.
were looking at some of that last night, Board of Assessment Appeals.
There's probably still a few homes out
And there's
there.
people that were like, there were some that they were still getting the tax break even when they shouldn't have been, and.
It's gotten refined over the years, yes, that whole issue.
Do we have any issues with like uncollected taxes that could have a benefit?
I don't think there's much of that.
99 point, what?
Yeah,
5%.
almost 100% collection rate.
Well, up to now.
Ralph, are you leading a charge?
No, no, that's not the charge I'm gonna leave.
Still don't understand this 100%. Why,
That's more questions.
well, it's just like. How did it get weighted the way it did? Like, why are the business, the top 10 taxpayers, like Ralph's saying, paying 2% more versus. How does that happen?
Well, what happened there, from my analysis of everything, when you look at the real estate values,
That was the biggest
top
time.
10, they didn't go up much.
Just
When you look at the personal property values for the top 10, they didn't go up anywhere near what residential buildings and residential land went over. And if the people who did the reval did a thorough market analysis on that, that may be legitimate. Those commercial properties aren't worth, haven't seen the increase in value since the last rebound that residential homes have. Look at the way real estate was going during COVID. Home prices were insane.
Right.
And people were doing stupid stuff because they could finally find a house. And they forego with inspections. You spend, you buy a $450,000 house and not do the inspections because you finally found something. So that's the main driver, I think, on part of this. And commercial properties. Who wants to develop commercial properties in Wellington? We don't like it. And I say that collectively, not me.
No, we made it quite difficult for Loves, than the other one. That never happened.
It was 10 years.
Yeah,
Your handout.
being nice.
Yeah.
Remember when I said last year, telling Pete, kind of tongue in cheek, can we push this off another year, wait for everything to crash, and everybody laughed at me?
Well,
The real
I don't
problem
remember
is not only this year, it is the next few.
but then there's also exemptions, like for instance, I just learned today, FedEx is our number one taxpayer, but they get exemptions on any truck purchases for the first 5 years of that vehicle's life. So all of that, which is a lion's share of their investment, is untaxed. And that's per state statute. It's my understanding. Is that
Yeah, it's
correct?
actually there, I mean, because that's
They
have,
is it tractor trailer?
things, tractor trailers come in and out a lot, so I don't know if they don't have many that just stay there or station there. But it's Ryder Trucks that gets they set a contract with somebody, and they.
One of the things with FedEx is the tractors are not owned by FedEx. The trailers. So you're not gaining any motor vehicle taxes because.
Or trailer tax?
I'm sorry.
Or trailer tax?
Well, you're probably, that may be part of, and Karen could probably respond to this better than me, but I would suspect that a lot of those trailers are considered personal property or motor vehicle property. If they're registered in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah.
They may not be.
There's an awful lot of.
They're all,
Illinois states.
they're all.
It all comes in and out, yeah.
Yeah.
They declared they have a lot of equipment, they use their yard equipment and stuff, and their conveyor system and. But those trucks there's not many that are stationed there, in my understanding, and they gave very detailed lists of everything.
Well, smart corporation's gonna take advantage of that too. They keep them off the tax rolls in as many of the high tax states as possible.
Anybody would,
Exactly.
it doesn't matter if you're big or small.
Hey, wait, but
Exactly.
could I just point out though, from our end, as a small town with, a lot of volunteer emergency services, but some paid emergency services. We have a lot of impact on our roads and with our emergencies because we serve 3 highway interstate exits out of this town. And we just had a chemical spill at Hancock Road yesterday that closed a large section of 320 from the top truck stop to Cosgrove. We are our services are paying for a lot of the infrastructure that is, I know, I'm just saying, we do have impact on our operating budgets from these things and that, and so when a corporation, you can say, well, they're just smart to do what they do to, to avoid paying local taxes, but there is an impact on our operating.
Be in worse shape if they left.
Yes.
Yes, because they pay us like.
That's right.
$1 million, so. Yeah. I know, I'm not saying that.
But I mean,
I'm just saying there are
retail
costs to
is
it.
mostly
Associated
Agree.
costs.
They don't take too much bullying.
No, I
It makes sense to me why more residential, because what was impacted by the crazy bubble? It sort of burst a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, Mansfield had an article about how Dog Lane, their commercial, they saw a decrease in all their commercial. I mean, not that we're living on commercial, obviously, we all know we don't have much here, but I mean, commercials, some towns even going down. So I mean,
When
Take it
when you
deep.
say dog lane, you mean the businesses?
yeah,
have
over
Stores down
stores in
now?
that area,
That's
yeah.
because a lot of the Yukon programming during the summer is closed down now.
Yeah, but
So
just
they don't have
overall,
year
they've seen
round.
that go
Yeah.
down. Now, so the tax increase, obviously, we all know is not gonna be, if it's 7%, whatever that number is, not gonna be equal across the board, right? Now, boards have problems getting people to come to meetings and understand what the feedback is. Now, I did a poll on Facebook, and I don't know who's seen it or if anybody, but it gives you a small sample size of what people responded back. Now, it's probably better than what we've seen come to the board, because we don't get people to come to the board, right? So what people were talking, as far as voting on, what they thought is acceptable for their tax increases. Majority of the people were, well, 0%, but we know that's not gonna happen. But the next one was 3.5% to 4%, followed by, it looked like 5% or greater, so. The appetite of the town from a small sample size poll of 55 people, that's just the feedback to give to the board, to understand what people are seeing, so.
And scientific straw poll, kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, the board's not getting people to show up anyways, right? So I mean, it gives you at least something. So how much weight you wanna put into it is up to the board.
Anything else for this evening on this?
Well, I guess. As Donna, gave us this, the mill rate calculation thing, because I was trying to figure out how we got to the 7% in the first place.
That's easy. We don't have the revenue.
Well, yeah, but I need the math to get to 7. Because.
Which 7% are you talking?
Well, I'm talking about the 7% overall increase in the mill rate. Because it's 7% from the equalized mill rates.
You're also, I mean, motor vehicles this year were at 32.46. They're going down to
Right.
24,
That's-
plus their values went down.
Plus,
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah.
state that drove that?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
it's based, it's off the, doing it on the blue book, and it does it on the manufacturer's recommended sale price, which is a different ballpark, and then the valuation of new cars starts at 85% of that MSRP, I think. And then it goes down 5 percentage points annually until you get to a minimum of 15%.
And what do they try to, as far as the car up to 20 years old, something
Well,
like
point
that?
it's still
At some-
gonna be, it's a minimum of 500, no matter what.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I
So,
have
but that's
that.
relatively new. At some point, after 25, the antique are,
Goes the other way.
no,
No, that would be the
No.
antique.
so I know, but at some point, that changed too, because I have several vehicles that are now over 25 years old.
Well,
That
and
now
they're
are,
capped,
they're capped at $500.
I've got ones that are 40 years old that are
Did you
500.
apply?
70.
No.
No, I just have,
A lot more.
Right, because that was the practice in the assessor's office for you, for older, for anything that was 20 years or older, to basically.
I'm
give
talking
five-
about both different towns.
Oh, okay,
One here and one in town.
oh, I see, yeah.
I got
But I just want to interject. I don't care what the percent change in the mill rate is. That's irrelevant. It's a fictitious number anyway. What's important is the number that has to be raised by taxation. How much did that go up? That's the key number.
Yes.
7%.
You can do all
How much did it go up?
publicity you want about an increase in the mill rate, but it's meaningless now because you have a fictitious
Well, it's.
equivalent mill rate for last year.
I guess what I just want everybody to understand is, the equivalent, if we went to 24.94 as a mill rate, that would be the equivalent of what we have today. If we did that, we still would have to cut to get to a 4% increase or whatever, a lot. I mean, we will have to do some drastic things is I guess what I'm
Right.
getting at here. We're done. We're like.
I mean, I think, I
we're-
think I tried to calculate, I mean, do you have your little calculator gadget here? Like, could you, I don't know if this is right, but I came up with, it would be about 1.2 million in a cut additional.
Yeah, that's
Where?
the
To
increase.
get to 4%,
Yes,
You know,
I mean, that's devastating.
that's about right.
That's like. We're getting rid of a lot of things. I mean,
Uh,
in fact, do we need these lights on? Let's just shut them on.
We have, we have done that before.
we put $1.2 million.
No, but I'm sure we've gotten rid of departments, cut department down, the recreation at one time was pretty non-existent.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I'm not.
yeah, no, I know,
Well,
I was
so
a
you're
selectman during the recession in 2009. We, I mean, we
Before
did
that,
some very
Way
drastic
before
things.
you,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
before me, I know.
way before
And-
that.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. We don't want that. I'll tell you that right now, but.
Can I ask, what is it like drastic and like there's these kind of fear words that are used,
I'm
like,
saying,
but I mean,
Well-
people aren't dying, right? Operations is still going.
well,
So what is hurt?
okay, $1.2 million. I mean, just think of this salary of one person that in this building, which is, there's only like 18 people who work here, but they're less than $100,000. So you could get rid of 10 people, but you can't because there's only one person and one or two people in each department. And each department, we have to have by law to do the things so you can't cut those.
But we also need to consider the Board of Education too, right?
Right, then it's
And
the
they
Board of
can be
Education.
cut up to, state law says 0.5%. They can actually go down by law. They can decrease their actual budget now.
Yes.
And we check the 3 boxes that require that.
So 10,
And-
15 teachers.
And students are still gonna learn.
There's only 8 grades, so, I mean, it's drastic. It's a big difference, and, I just don't think people understand. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see this coming. I did not know that this is like how this was shaking out. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else understood it this way.
We were hearing numbers a couple of weeks ago, oh, it's be $300 more in taxes or whatever, just the
Yeah.
back of the hand stuff, like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
relatively manageable for a lot of people, but you know, you start talking like numbers of 1,000 or greater, you know, that hurts a lot of people really bad.
yeah. So,
And the
But
other,
again,
the other problem that I saw as I was looking at the revale, different properties, is it's not uniform at all. There's some insane increases in land value based on the revale. I've seen properties go up 80% in value just for the land, not the house.
right,
Because I
but
looked
isn't
at the
that,
numbers
isn't that
separately.
also because of the market value of an acre of land now compared to what it was?
Well, they ain't making any more of it.
Yeah,
That's part of. the
so it's more
problem.
valuable.
I mean,
Yeah, I
stuff in
mean, you
forestry
know,
before.
So
It's-
that's developed,
Stuff in forestry before.
It's- it-
pay $450.
I don't know,
you can't
Correct,
devalue
forestry?
an acre of land.
Expand a lot.
because, you know,
No,
they pay
well,
more
no.
taxes.
It didn't expand, it never
It's-
promised,
it's
I
only
think so, but,
4,500.
the, number-
4,500 an acre.
what did it do? I think it went up, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it went up, but,
But you're limited what you can tax on forestry too.
yeah.
Right, well, that's what I mean, so we're some in forestry and now
The
there are.
open space is limited forestry, right, that we're
Well,
talking.
you know, I haven't researched this, but I was thinking about this today. I don't even know how long, the rate, the 100% rate for open space in this town is 480.
Yeah.
I don't know when it was, do you know how it was adopted? When that was adopted as a value? Okay, because that,
$20 an acre.
The other thing too is with some of the open space categories, like forestry, like open space, anything under PA 490. The appraised value, the appraisals on that land. But what you can assess it at didn't help matters. You know, I don't know what the percent is, it's not 70% for forestry, is it, Carol?
no, it's way, I mean,
Way lower.
you know, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it's 390 or something, an acre for forest versus 4,500 for an excess acre, right? It's a big difference.
Are those numbers driven by the state or a town?
The farm and forest are done every 5 years, so. And we change it with the reval. So the numbers that we were working on were 2015 ag numbers, and now we're using 2020.
But the calculation that they're saving though, is that number driven by the state? Or is that driven?
But it can be assessed that way.
Well, no, I mean, that's market, but I mean, you're looking at the difference between what you would save, right? Having it in the program versus
No,
no.
the program rate is set by the state.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's.
The open space rate is set by the town, just to. With that.
Wait, does the state sets it or the town sets it?
The town, each town adopts. their
I
own.
do remember when a past assessor corrected some situations with grandfathered in properties or something that. Where there used to be a bigger piece of property, it was divvied up with the. With the heirs or something like that, and they became small parcels, but they were still qualified as a bigger open space parcel, that kind of thing, and he was trying to figure it out, and I remember it being pretty controversial in town, a lot of people objecting to it.
You've got an appeal on that.
We're dealing with it, like, there's a guy. What was it, like, it's over 30 acres, it's 30 something acres, he's trying to like say it's only worth $40 an acre. Cause it's ledge and wetland and so forth. Right now, he's getting taxed as open space at $480 an acre, and they're trying to make the case that's only 40, it's crazy, but that's, I would imagine there's probably quite a bit of land classified as open space in this town. You would know.
I don't know the percent.
But yeah, that's a good way, if you want a large, parcel of land, you classify it as open space, you obviously gotta apply for that and everything, but then someday if you wanna develop it, you flip it back and.
I think a lot of people have done that.
But yeah, I can't blame them if they can get away with it, but that's,
But that's also impacting this,
of course it is.
yeah,
But
so.
if the town can change that rate, right, if we have the power, then
The town
Maybe-
can also change the criteria for getting into it.
that's something that maybe the town needs to visit.
I would agree with that.
And the flip side is, we want to encourage them.
Well, you want to encourage open space.
But some of this,
But only if the town.
some of this open space is like, there's not people hiking across it or anything.
Right, it's not accessible to the public,
Yeah.
it's just a lower tax rate, but.
Just to touch on
It's not really
forestry,
it's big.
if you'll indulge me, being on wetlands, I see all the logging, the timbering operations. Okay, there's a lot of property out there getting logged now.
Even the corner of Cedar Swamp, I see a giant pile of logs, so they.
And I'm seeing people doing logging on their land that 10 years ago would never have thought of it. Why is that? Well, to qualify as forestry, you have to have a forest
Management plan.
and you
That was
have
written on
to
this
have
last night.
revenue from that endeavor.
Yeah.
It's like getting a farm category,
And not never farm. Yeah,
you know?
so,
Farm category, you have to make money at farming in order to meet that classification. If you don't have any income from farming, you're not gonna get a farm
You
classification.
mean they're logging it to show that they're
make an income.
You have
making
to have
an
a
income?
management plan.
So are they doing it in a sort of sustainable way, or are they doing it in a clear cut way? The ones that you're talking
They're
about?
doing it in
There's
a
no
legitimate
true
way.
clear cutting going on in Wellington. Yeah, it's mostly disease and forestry management.
Yeah, I had
Okay.
90 acres logged, and it was for that reason. The ash is all going to be extinct, so we have to have all the ash removed.
Yeah.
We had trees that were coming down in storms. We had the gypsy moths a few years ago. So those are some of the reasons that people did logging. That's why I did logging.
There's three categories on my property. All the ash trees are dead. I've lost a lot of oak trees because of gypsy moths, and the hemlocks are dying because of the woolly adulterated.
The Oodaboo?
Maybe quote you?
That was hemlock thing that I did.
Big project up by FedEx now, came along. Huge,
Where's that?
behind FedEx.
There's a big chunk up on Village Hill too, right by my house.
Get my,
I guess, can I ask another question? So the houses that. In 2023, there was, I think, 400 and, I might have the number wrong, 2,420 real estate accounts. And then this year, there's 19 less. What's happened to those 19 real estate accounts?
Some of them, it's lot mergers,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's most.
So it's not necessarily that they
I mean, it's not-
had two houses. Cause I guess I was thinking that. If, let's say you had a house on one lot and then you had land next to it. That the land counts as a land, as a land account, not as a real estate account.
yeah, I mean, it's a separate parcel, each
Yeah.
part, it's a separate parcel.
Well, when you say account, is that
Like, did they merge it?
there's parcels and then there's,
Yeah, let me tell you the right word.
you're saying like the
But no matter what, you're
billable
carving
entity?
a vacant property, you're still carving out 1.84 acres as building lot
Right.
for tax revenue,
Mm-hmm,
for property tax purposes.
yeah,
And some
So
people,
you have 90 acres, but 1.84 of that is going to be considered a lot.
mhm,
If it's in a residential zone, it's a lot, and that
Yeah,
portion
I
will get
see.
taxed.
yeah.
So what are you actually looking, you're looking, what's,
Oh, I'm looking at,
just like, where the tax bills go?
well, I'm just looking at the summary report that was on the website, the assessors.
Or what is that?
Uh,
What actually is? Cause you can have,
I don't
you can
know,
have two different parcels, actual is.
Right,
Mom and dad meet and then
it just
now
says,
I'm
it
paying
says
both bills,
total
so
real
that's
estate taxable number of accounts. 2,420 down to 2,401.
Well, you know,
whatever, that,
I don't know, but that, if that,
the merger does make sense because
yeah,
when we-
makes sense.
when we, you know, we did an addition, we had a sliver property as well as our main property that our house is on. And the town required us to merge and to do an AT survey and all
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah. So
you know,
that's
so,
there's a lot of stuff that goes on, but,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. And plus too, I think it's the nature of, don't you, a 300-year-old town that has a lot of, you know, unresolved particulars, shall we say, historic particulars.
yeah,
Like a right of way across that property
mhm.
owned by 17 families from the,
That's happens
Right.
anywhere. I mean,
I know, it's fascinating, but. Perky.
And then my other question is, if someone does. The abatement issue. So if your house is totally abated, like you're just off the grand list.
what do you mean by a?
Define abated is,
Yeah, that's what I'm not
If
sure.
your valuation is removed from the rolls because you've got a full exemption.
I would never fix my house, like. Remember what Bob talking about that? What? No.
you're talking
You mean
about
like they just say-
Yeah, you're talking about no.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're talking about
100%
the-
disability.
Yeah, the 100%,
That's
Yeah.
the new decline, I mean.
Yeah, there was
removal.
adjustments in assessment appeals too, because the ratings changed on some people with the percent of disability and
Right.
everything.
They came back on.
Yeah, they
so,
came back
so
on.
they come off the list completely.
No, just,
Or-
well, just for now, just the house,
Mhm.
the building.
So that's already factored in. It's not like there's a whole other thing where on the backside, we're just not gonna be collecting that money. That we have to, we don't need to account for that.
And that
separately.
should, that's where you should look at the net column, yeah, that should reflect that.
Okay,
So when you say just the house, you mean they pay on the land?
The land wasn't affected by the bad foundation.
So I'm not talking about the foundation, I'm
No, this
talking
is
about disabled vets.
veteran. I
Oh,
can
okay,
your
okay,
account
well,
to see.
My-
That's why I asked Christina to define abatement, because I didn't understand what she
my
was
land
referring
was
to.
affected by it. I just dig up my old property, but, okay, I guess there's no more surprises. Are there any more, is there anything that's gonna shake out of this other than all these reassessments that I'm guessing are all going down, not up?
So,
Yeah.
not as much as people wanted, but of course,
Like what,
something.
is there a rule of thumb of what we can expect? I
No.
think this is worse than.
We go
We have,
case.
we have a revenue
Yeah.
placeholder of 100 grand in tax, right? From BOA
Yeah.
investments.
What is
And-
that, is that always 100,000 though? Or,
No, that's, or is it?
In so many cases we hear.
Is it a placeholder? You mean?
Yes, usually we put in 100,000.
okay, so should we put more? Does it
Well-
seem like it's gonna be like, I don't know.
With 29
What does
cases.
it look like? Well,
We forward some a bit, you know, you know, you're looking at the total value, right? That's
yes,
the market value, and and you get 70% of that. There, and what do you have in there now for adjustments?
100,000
100.
off the grand list.
But that's off,
You know, I'm adjusting.
oh, is
the
that
grand-
off the grand
I'm
list?
adjusting the grand list down, 100,000.
Okay, that's not the revenue then.
I'm not, well,
No, but the value that the house decreases, you should be dividing that by 0.7.
Yeah, because 70%,
Okay?
but it's,
So the total, if your adjustments to BAA
yeah,
totals 100,000 divided by 0.7,
yes, it's gonna be more.
then that 100,000 is gone. That's wiped out. That allowance is wiped out.
Well, the
But the
the
net.
grand
the
list
net on
is
the
already
list I
the
gave you
valuation, isn't it? The assessed value? The
was
grand list is,
400,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've already done this 0.7, haven't you?
Yeah,
Okay. I was missing something. Hmm.
but yeah, it is likely to go down because I know, I'm working with one of the apartment owners, so that they hopefully don't have to come to the BAA meeting. And I'm sure it would involve, it's gonna involve a downward adjustment.
Like a.
I don't know, I have no idea, I'm just telling, I'm just mentioning it, that's the only
Well, we have people.
larger area thing I can
Comps
think
on
of.
other houses, like, you know, one on Kushka, the house was valued at well over 500,000. Look at another one up in Wilderness Way for a very similar size house and everything, it was $100,000 less, you know, so you're. It's well, we didn't lower it that amount, we took some off, but you know, it's. You know, how does that even happen? The whole process with the reval and everything, I don't know the methodology they followed or anything, it just.
It's puzzling for sure. Some of it is location. There are towns that have a different.
But Kushka's
Assessment
Road,
for
Wilderness
waterfront.
Way is a neighborhood, and the one on Wilderness Way is worth, like, you know, less than the one on Kushka, which is a pretty rural road.
Oh, you're talking about the new house.
And this one was built in 2017, I believe.
Yeah, that's probably part of it.
Yeah, well, Wilderness Way is not that much older.
I mean, age, location. You have towns that have, they tax extra for view shed, they tax extra
Oh, yeah,
for
the view tax.
waterfront. You live on farming in, what's the ridge line that goes up west of
We do
Hartford?
that too, I know.
Some of the towns there.
We do waterfront, I mean, but that's market,
Yeah,
that's not,
Coventry does.
Yeah,
View tax, lake tax.
Remember that came in.
Oh, they
Standing water.
I have no garage and I have a swimming pool, so I can look at the waterfront.
I got two cricks and
Yeah,
a,
Nelson Brook.
an old cow pond.
So we're talking about a lot of stuff we can't really control.
No,
Well, I talked to, the chair of BOA today, though, and he said, he indicated that the reductions were pretty modest and driven by, you
Don't
know,
forget, there's almost 30 of them. So it's,
yeah, right, right.
so it's modest when
He,
you tally
well,
it all up.
he said, of course, there are a lot of people who are protesting because the market value is supportive of, you know, a new value on their house that hasn't been valued in a while. I mean, I would be surprised if people didn't understand what happened during COVID and during the last 6 years in the housing market, but I'm sure there are some who didn't follow it until now.
Drop from another planet.
Seems to me that there's a lot of,
Where the housing costs are lower.
seems to me that there's a lot of, a lot of farms that seem to be the recipient of a lot of construction equipment in town. That maybe started out as farms, but now seem to have more construction equipment than they had farm on. And is that designation taken away from any possible additional taxation?
I will tell you that the courts have made it's very difficult to, once someone has been designated farm or forest, to take it away. Then you'll lose most of the time.
Even if you have dump trucks and trailers
Oh, well,
and
that
bulldozers?
should be, you should be declaring it, yeah, or if they're registered or.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get tax on vehicles.
Yeah, when we bought our place, we were told we were designated farm, hasn't been a farm in 20 some odd years, as far as I know, it may still be, I have no idea.
Well, I wasn't questioning that so much as the fact that there's a lot of, you know, large business enterprises that, you know, create a lot more money than farms do. Because they basically are homes to construction equipment. They didn't start out that way. In fact, some of them start out as houses and they become residences for, you know, triaxles and all kind of supersized garages and all kinds of things.
Yeah, we've had extensive discussions in zoning.
Yeah.
That's classifies as a home-based occupation.
I don't wanna be a wet blanket, but is this? Is this
think
like
the quantity of
a
those in town
casual
is significant.
illegal meeting?
Half dozen.
I mean,
We're not voting on anything.
we're not
That's
voting
fine.
and you didn't open the meeting.
I mean, they captured the motor vehicle.
You didn't open the meeting,
Nope, never.
Yeah.
but I don't know if it qualifies.
Unregistered.
You don't capture the road
We
use,
have a hybrid
you know,
meeting.
deterioration, expense to the town.
I think I mean, not deterrent. Did have it. I think we're all hungry to understand what's going on.
yeah. And I don't either. I think I understand.
With a
now.
dead horse. Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Well, I have a better understanding of it, and thanks for the experts in the room.
Yeah.
it's legal.
We won't tax you for that.
So the referendum is supposed to be the first, what did you say, in May?
It's May 6th, it's a section, it's a Tuesday, yeah.
Well, Tom,
That was-
It's always the second, it's always the first Tuesday. Yeah, and it's driven by the Region 19 vote, actually, member towns of that, and everybody does their municipals on the same day usually.
Where's that?
Keep from
That's
having
also
two
on site
elections.
we would get. Thanks, Alfie.
Hey, I was working outside.
Yeah,
Get online.
I will be back.
You look like a commando.
Then that will, that definitely won't attract.
Yeah.
The second week in May, I'm in Atlanta.
Which is what we need to do.
All right, yeah.
So they got
I adjourn, so, yeah.
Trucking industry.
Yeah, go for it.
Businesses. And
So